morning and welcome to the March 17th, 2020 emergency meeting of the Merrimack School Board. Because of the state of emergency, we are meeting under these circumstances. We do have two of our board members who are joining over the phone, and I will go to them individually so that way we can make sure that they can conduct the meeting where they can hear us and speak to us contemporaneously, so that we have full board participation. And on top of that, we understand because of the state of emergency and the current state of events that it is encouraged for the people not to collect. With that, we understand that Merrimack TV is live streaming this meeting, and they're live streaming it on Facebook. With that, we will accept public testimony, which is public participation on agenda items at the end of our meeting. If you would like to place a comment in the live stream chat area on Facebook, please make sure that if you want your public comment shared, you start your post with public comments, state your name and address for the record, because this is still an official meeting and we're taking official testimony from the community, and then state your comments. We'll do that to try to be as transparent and open and participative in our meeting structure, and we feel that this is a way that we can get that community feedback in light of current events. So thank you, bear with us. This is an evolving situation, and we are doing the best to try to get that full transparency and public participation under these circumstances as we can. So again, if you are on our live stream on Facebook, on Merrimack TV's page, which is where we're broadcasting now, write public comments, your name and address for the record, and then state your comments. On that note, we are on to item number 1, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This is where I will, and the other thing I forgot to mention is tonight any votes will be taken by roll call because of the having two members of our board on the phone. So I'm going to turn to them first. Andy Schneider, you first. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, if you could please answer them, and then we will get on with the meeting. I'll go to Naomi, and then we'll get started. So, Andy, can you please give us the reason that you will not be able to attend the meeting this evening?
I'm still choosing to be remote, given the health situation going on right now.
Thank you very much. Where are you located, Andy?
In my office, in my house in Merrimack on Woodward Road.
And is there anyone with you?
No.
Thank you, Andy. Naomi, I'll be going through the same questions with you. Naomi, can you please give us the reason you will not be attending the meeting in person tonight?
Due to the coronavirus situation.
Thank you very much. Will you please give me your location?
I'm at my home in Merrimack.
And is anyone with you?
Nobody is here.
Thank you very much. On that note, we are on to item number 2, which is public participation. Anyone from the public that would like to speak, come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I will close public participation. I am going to quickly check the live stream on Merrimack TV to see if we have any posts, and I do not see that it is live yet. Am I getting that correct? I'm looking at the back of the room.
Just so you know, it is live, yes. And I posted a note that just says that to state their name and address in their comment, and you'd read it at the end. So.
Okay, I do not see the live stream on my phone.
Refresh your screen, and on Merrimack TV, there's a live button that you click, and it points to it usually.
There it goes. Thank you very much, Andy. I do have it.
Yep.
You got that all set?
I think so. Stick around.
And if you could just get the phone a little bit closer to the mic, too.
You bet. And so far we are good. And we have no new posts. So thank you very much. So item number 3 is consideration of emergency outreach related to food services in the Merrimack School District. And I will turn the microphone over to Mark.
Thank you. Well, if it's been said once, it's been said many, many times over the last few weeks that these are pretty extraordinary times. And extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. And so One of the issues that was raised last night at the school board meeting had to do with the board's concern about the ability of students to receive food during the period of school closure of the Merrimack schools. Last night, I indicated to the board the reason that at that time I didn't bring it before you. And I want to reiterate that reason because it is important to note. Right now, even today, we have not received a waiver from the state of New Hampshire related to this particular issue. And we would need such a waiver in order to utilize our food service for the distribution of food. We would need that. It's been expressed to me on a number of occasions that perhaps other districts are doing that, and I don't know about them, but I've got my hands full with this one. And what I can tell you is that in this particular town, we are not, under any circumstances, going to go against state or federal laws, particularly as relates to the distribution of food without the proper authority. We said also that there is an alternative to that, which would be to ask the school board to authorize the district to for a transfer of funds for the purposes of providing food, lunch, to our community. And I will turn to Matt for just a minute to describe. We're going to turn to Matt a number of times this evening, but I want Matt to just explain why this action allows us to move more quickly than if we were to wait for a waiver. So Matt, if you could just explain that, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, last evening, the comment was made that Londonderry is providing lunch to students. And how are they doing that? Well, I spoke with Londonderry today, and they had requested a waiver. If you have 50% or more free and reduced kids, you will get a waiver to serve food when school is not in session. Anything less than 50%, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. They did not hear back from the department, the Bureau of Nutrition Services at the state. We were waiting for a more sweeping declaration from them that they would waive all of the school districts in the state of New Hampshire from this waiver request. But the waiver only is for the purpose of you receiving free or reduced reimbursements for meals. So if you're not going to apply for free and reduced reimbursements of meals, let's say free is $2.25 a meal. So if we sell 100 meals, that's $200 that we would get back from the state of New Hampshire. And plus you have to follow all their nutritional guidelines for a reimbursable meal. So Londonderry, like I think others to follow quickly, just said, well, quite frankly, we're not going to go for the waiver. We're not concerned with picking up free and reduced. Our main mission is to take care of our kids in our community. So having gotten that information and looking at our options, I think what we had discussed best is to go our own way, lacking any assistance or direction or help from the state of New Hampshire. So that's where I'm going to leave it right now if Mark wants to continue on.
Yep, so thank you, Matt. So the option that we have now is to transfer, as I said, funds from the general fund, but that can't happen on my own. I could not authorize on my own for that to happen. This is taxpayer money. And so the governing body is the one that needs to do that. So the reason I didn't bring it to you last night for a vote is because we were hoping that we would get more clarity from the state. And we haven't. And so in response to that, and in response to the board's very clear message about what it wishes to do for the students in our community, we arranged to have this emergency meeting. So the very specific question today is whether the board would authorize the transfer of funds from the general fund for the purposes of providing food, lunch to students in our community for a period of time during this health emergency. After you take that, after you consider that and take whatever vote you take, Matt, I will turn to Matt to provide some specific additional information, but we're going to hold on that until the board takes its vote. So.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to ask for guidance, and then with that, I'll try to make a motion that is sustainable. And Matt, we don't have to give a specific amount, so I can say
No.
that the board authorizes any necessary funds be transferred from the general fund to food service to, for the sake of providing meals to students during this state of emergency. And leave it open-ended for date and amount, correct?
That is perfect.
With
yeah.
the only caveat
With the
that
only-
would be lunch.
Lunch,
Lunch.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, you bet. So I move that we authorize the administration to transfer any necessary funds from the general fund to the food service fund for the sake of providing lunch to students for the foreseeable future under the state of emergency conditions. Do I have a second? Seconded by Brandy. Are there any comments to the motion? Cinda?
I have a question.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Naomi, I forgot. Sorry, getting used to it. Forgot. Naomi, go ahead and ask.
Yeah?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Recognizing that this is a marvelous first step that we're taking forward, could you at some point talk a bit about breakfast in relation to this as well?
I will tell you right now, I will ask Matt, we have not served breakfast in the Merrimack School District. We haven't. And this would be, again, we'll take direction from the board, but this would be unprecedented because we just haven't. Now, I want to be clear because I think there was I want students to be fed. I certainly do. But I'm also mindful of what our commitments are to our taxpayer and what our history has been for the services that we typically provide. We do not typically provide breakfast. So in the spirit of full disclosure, I want the board to recognize that this would be in excess of what we have ever done before. We don't currently serve breakfast. And I might add that the schools, I would hope at some point, will be joined by other agencies, both in the town and the state, to provide services as well. We're doing what we can. So having said that, I offered the board, but I could not unilaterally ask you to take that action when we don't do that before, recognizing that these are unusual times. But that's what I would tell you.
No, thank you. No, that's the main reason I was asking is that I'm sure that people have seen headlines about schools offering breakfast and lunch, and I wanted to put us in the context of our activities in relation to things people might be seeing. So what you said is very clear. What students have been receiving at our schools is lunch. Now, there may be need in the community for more food, but what we're trying to do tonight, it sounds like to me, is to restore the services we typically offer. Does that sound right?
That is exactly right. And again, I just think this is a time to be mindful of community partnerships. And the schools are trying to do what it can. We're gearing up to educate 4,000 people tomorrow. And in addition, trying to do this. So community help would be most welcome.
Excellent. And just to clarify, if I could, I know that we don't have a structured breakfast program, but some people may notice that their teenager will grab a bagel and coffee at the high school, but that's not a subsidized or a structured, that's just more like a snack bar type of function, which happens to happen during morning hours. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. In the morning when they come in the doors, there's an opportunity for them to grab and go. And
Right.
that's what they do. Sometimes they sit down for a little bit if they get there early, And if not, but it's not a structured, formal breakfast program.
Okay, thank you for that. Cinda?
I wondered if we wanted to put something in the motion that might limit it based on getting what we need from the state. So, you know, if the state does do a blanket kind of a approval, or what was the word you used? It was a
Waiver authorization.
A waiver authorization, then it sounds like we would kind of transition our approach.
Well, I,
So I don't-
yeah, well, I think the motion allows for any monies that we need, and
Okay.
therefore, if monies come from the state, we don't need them from the general
Correct.
fund.
All right,
So I
thanks.
kept a blanket for that reason. That's why I was asking those
Okay.
probing questions.
No, that works, thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
But, this is Andy, is it okay?
Yes, oh, absolutely, I'm sorry. Thank you, Andy.
Yep. So my only comment to sort of piggyback on Cinda's is, what I want to make sure is that the district still continues to pursue that waiver so that when that transition does happen, that we can, you know, sort of then get relief from the state to be able to do what we need to do.
You can rest assured
you
that
know-
that's the reason for, that we didn't bring it to the board last night, specifically because we have been working that angle. So this changes nothing. We are going to continue to work that angle because that's the proper, that support from the state is what I believe communities should be receiving. However,
Right.
in the absence of that, we will do what we need to do, assuming that the board, you know, takes this action tonight. And as soon as we get support, then we will not continue to draw from the general fund for this purpose.
That's perfect. I just wanted to make sure it was clear to everybody. I knew you guys were going to do it from the administration standpoint, but I wanted to make sure the taxpayers understood that this was to solve the problem now while you still pursued those other options. So that was good. But the second question I've got is, so if we procure these funds, is the intent to provide meals to those that are free and reduced and offer to sell it to anyone, a student that wants it? How's the implementation going to be? Have we thought through that?
We don't feel it necessary at this time, considering privacy, to send a staff member out with a roster in a printed form of all kids that are on free and reduced and check off names as they come. Our intention is to, whoever needs it is there for a specific reason, and we're going to give it to them. There are people who just found out last night that they no longer have employment because of the shutdown of restaurants in the entire state. So it would take months for them to qualify for free and reduced. We don't have months. We've got a day or so. And so our intent is to anyone who shows up, we ask them how many they would like, and, you know, do you have kids in the school system? Yes. Or it could be a grandmother coming up to pick them up for her 2 grandchildren, that we would provide that to them and deliver that to their car.
Okay. I see Cinda and Brandy have questions.
And that would cover the privacy issues too.
Yes.
So we wouldn't,
And then
by
we don't
doing
have
that
to
approach, we
worry
wouldn't-
about people standing around. Are you free or reduced? Oh, yeah, I'm free and reduced.
Right.
10 people are there, they hear you.
So
Well, if I
making it
could just,
open to those in
Right.
need allows us to protect
Yeah,
the privacy.
to make
Open
it
to
open
those
to
in need.
all would make it open to those in
Yeah.
need as well.
Right.
And I, you know, one of the, if we can find a silver lining in anything these days, it would be that these days provide opportunities for clarity to the public about some of the complications that we encounter every day as school folks. So what may seem easy to people who aren't intimately involved in our work proves to be much, much more complicated. So the issue of privacy might seem like bureaucratic red tape, but I can guarantee you that if we were to in any way create a situation that would identify a student on free and reduced lunch, we would be breaking the law. Not only is that a moral failing on our part, it would be a legal failing. So I would just caution people who want to sort of suggest, well, just jump and do, that what you might not realize are the significant constraints that schools work under every day. And what we're trying to do is ensure that we accomplish two goals. One would be the delivery of food, lunch to students in the district. And Matt's description of how we're going to do this will bypass the concerns about privacy and do it in a way that's legal and transparent. So that's what we're attempting to do with this meeting tonight and with this motion that's on the table right now.
Okay, and with that, I think that gives you exactly what you need to make things happen. I think Brandy had a question, or did it get answered just now?
It's not necessarily about the motion, it's just about logistics.
Okay, I was going to ask kind of the when, if no one asked the when of when we'd be prepared to start
So
when this passes.
So I said earlier that after the motion, I'm prepared to ask Matt to provide some specifics.
Okay.
So again, it matters.
It does.
I don't want to presume anything.
Fair.
So we certainly have much to tell you in a few minutes
Okay.
if the board should make the decision to authorize this. And we make no assumptions that the board is going to do that. So if the board doesn't, we respect the will of the board, and then we just go about our business. So if you would take the vote, and then we'll see what happens with the vote, and then I would ask Matt, should the vote be in the affirmative, that there will be details to follow.
Okay, so with that, would you mind if I called the question? Okay, so we're going to be doing a roll call vote. I'm going to start with the people on the phone. Andy, how do you vote?
I vote in favor.
Naomi, how do you vote?
In favor?
Brandy, how do you vote?
In favor?
Cinda, how do you vote?
In favor.
And I vote in favor. The motion carries 5-0-0. I'm going to turn it back over to you, and we can talk logistics. Thank you.
Thank you. So we had a good reason to believe that the board was most likely going to take this vote, although I want to say I never assume. So I understand that the board had an option tonight to do one of two things, but we anticipated perhaps that the board might make this move. So I'm going to turn it over to Matt, and before I do, I want to just really publicly thank Matt because what Matt was able to pull off today, I think under pretty extraordinary circumstances, is pretty impressive. And it involves a lot of collaboration, a lot of coordination, and we weren't even gathered 24 hours ago for last night's meeting. So I want to thank Matt publicly for the work that he did today on this, and I'm going to turn it over to Matt to provide the board and the community with some specific information.
Yes, thank you. What the plan would be in anticipation of you approving this, because I'm certainly not going to come to a board meeting knowing what the agenda item is, ask you to take a vote and hope you say no because I don't have a plan. So we have it mapped out to the best of our ability, and I don't really see it changing. We may change it depending upon the circumstances that happen tomorrow and how things look and whatnot, but this is generally what's going to be. So starting tomorrow, the 18th, at 10:30 to 12:30, the Merrimack School District will be providing a grab-and-go lunch to all who have students in the Merrimack School District free of charge. The pickup site is going to be at Merrimack High School during those hours, 10:30 to 12:30. We're going to put out a tent where I want to call it the old entrance. A lot of people know what that means, but the alternative front entrance, so thus the tent to give it visibility. Please come up O'Gara Drive and stop at the pickup location. Someone will be there to serve you. So there'll be a food service personnel in the lobby or the foyer, whatever it is, and the meals will be there, and they will come out and say, you know, how many would you lunch? How many would you like? It's going to be probably, you know, a sandwich. There's going to be a fruit in there. Dave Zicki said that he has some carrots. He has some yogurt available and maybe a juice, something like that. And so if they say, I have 2 children, we'll give them 2 meals. So they come to pick up in that location. And then they don't get out of their car. We don't want people getting out of their cars or anything like that. We bring to you. Now, there are some that perhaps don't have transportation to drive to the high school at this point in time. Maybe a car's in the shop, maybe it's a one-car household, no idea. But if they don't have transportation, we have partnered with our transportation company, Student Transportation of America, and they are willing from 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. to take phone calls at 424-7880. They will take orders. They will write the names, the addresses, how many meals, everything like that. They will then email that to our food service director, Dave Zicki, who's be at the high school. He will look at how many he has to pack up to go, and they will come at probably 10 o'clock before parents come. Go around the back of the high school, come around the side of the high school, right-hand door opens up, and they'll be given the lunches that they're going to distribute around town. In the interim, Michelle Bancroft, manager, will be doing the routes that they need to take, giving them the addresses. Maybe it's one bus, maybe it's two buses. It all depends on the number of calls. So we'll have a bus driver in there and two other drivers to support them, because we don't want the bus driver handing out things. And they will go from address to address to address, and they will do delivery. Now, there are some areas in town which buses aren't allowed to go, private roads, condo developments. Sometimes the turning radius is a little bit tight. So Rich Desmond has offered to do those deliveries himself. So we're going to be using Rich, our transportation coordinator, STA, our transportation provider, Dave Zicki and his food service people who are excited about this, and of course Tom Tussaud to set up the area, and perhaps we'll use the school resource officer at the high school if there's any issue with traffic. We can call him in for that. So that is the plan that we would be putting out on Facebook and on School Messenger and wherever else we can figure to post it.
Cinda, and I'll also go to the phone after the table.
So the website where we have the updates on all
Yep.
of the coronavirus stuff, it needs to go there.
That will be there.
The other question I had is about students that might have allergies, like a gluten intolerance, or would they
Nut,
just
or whatever,
nuts,
yeah.
or, I mean, I don't know that we typically serve those anyways. But
We stay away from all peanut products in the high school
Yeah.
and all over the place.
Yeah.
Nothing
But
does.
the gluten or maybe
And
some
we
other
could, yeah,
specific.
we can make, I knew that was going to be a question. We'll make provisions for that.
So would they just call then that number and then
Yeah.
explain they have that allergy?
Yes.
And then we would prepare that.
And
with
that'll
their
be in
name?
the notes, right?
Thanks.
Correct.
Thank you.
Same thing for people picking up, you know.
Gotcha. Brandy?
So I think I'd like to take this opportunity really quick and just say that this is a real issue. And in our district, we talk about excellence in education and how important that is. Part of excellence in education also comes from full bellies for our littles. And I think it's really important that we take a moment and recognize the amount of effort and energy that goes into this type of initiative. It's not as simple as, a drive-through. There are so many layers to this evolving situation, and the amount of people that needed to be involved in this one element. I find myself consistently in awe of how much goes into what seems like a small initiative, but then when you really pull the layers back, you start to see just how challenging at times it can be, but also how rewarding it is when we do come up with a solution in a very short period of time. So I would like to say thank you to all of you. I also would like to recognize the amount of people that are standing up, the effort that Rich Desmond, for him to say what he is saying, that, he's going to drive and hand deliver. I thank everybody that's involved in this initiative, from the people that are putting the bags together to actually handing them to the school bus drivers, everybody involved. Thank you. On top of that, I would like to say that our community is more than our district. Our community is our children are in our buildings for a specified period of time, and that is important. And to meet those needs while they're in our district and in our buildings is very important. But this situation is beyond our buildings. This situation is beyond our district. It is beyond our state. So it requires all of us to pull together. Comments that I've seen on Facebook about how the school board is more concerned about them and not about our students. I'm challenged by these words. I'm challenged by the negative posts regarding our administration, regarding teachers, regarding this process. It is unprecedented. It is uncharted territory. None of us in this room have ever experienced anything at this level, and we are all doing our absolute best. And I just want to go on record as saying that there isn't one person in our building that doesn't have the desire for the absolute best outcomes possible for our children, but even outside of our children, for our community and our state and the welfare of our elderly individuals, our youngest individuals, and everybody in between. That being said, this needs to be a community effort. I appreciate those from the town council that are here, and I would ask that we can somehow, some way, come together as a community for all of us in this effort, because we all need to pitch in here. This is not just the school district. I am all for breakfast. I'm all for dinner. I'm all for volunteering my time, but it needs to be done outside of the constraint of just the district. This needs to be a town-wide initiative, and anything I can do from the town perspective, I'm in. Let me know. I'm more than happy to volunteer my time and my effort and energy towards any student, any elderly individual, and everybody in between. I'll do my part, and I just ask that we all rise to the occasion and do our parts as well.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from those on the phone? I'll start with you, Naomi. Are you?
I'm all set. That was extremely well said. Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you. Andy?
Yeah, no, I agree. Brandy said it very well. I'm just really happy we're able to do this, and I think that erring on the side of delivering it to anyone that needs it is the right thing to do, so I'm certainly good.
Definitely. And I know, again, Town Council Chair Koenig is here this evening, and before we start our meeting, I asked if there's going to be another meeting of the task force, which has been put together in the last couple of weeks, and the second meeting will be Friday at 11 a.m. So with that, I think, community need, we are here to serve students what we would have served them had they come to our buildings, but when you're talking about a broader need, that's a broader responsibility. I think just creating the education we've created for the last, that we'll be delivering the next few weeks, feeding them in the middle of the day when we would have had them in our company, and trying to get them what I'll call robust, rigorous content to the best of our abilities under these circumstances. That's as much as we can ever ask our administration to do, and they're exceeding expectations every day. But when it comes to the broader community, the missing meals that we would not have managed, the elderly, the medically sensitive, those who can't look after themselves, we can do our best, and we'll do our part, and of course we'll collaborate wherever we can. We've offered every resource we've ever had as a district to our town for things like voting, for things like community meetings, PFOA meetings, all of it. We're not operating in a bubble, never have, never will. But to that end, we do need some help. When you talk about the budget, we can't retain a surplus, so we don't have a savings account. What we're taking is what we have left from the operating budget that we set. And that's not going to give us a lot to play with. So we can do what we can, but we can't do it all. And so we are going to need some help from those that may have deeper pockets in their budgets, and wider resources in their midst with things like public works, police, and fire. So I think it's, I'm glad that this task force is meeting, and I think it is, a good time to maybe address those issues when it does convene. So I think there's a hint, but I know I'm not invited to the meeting, but our administration is. And with that, I do hope you have a very productive meeting on Friday. So Cinda?
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate the thanks. I mean, it's a lot of work, what you all did today. I'm really proud of you guys for what everything you pulled together. You just really make my heart happy to get this great news. Having said that, I'd also like to ask the public to please be patient with us, with the district in its entirety. There's a lot that's happened since Friday. It's only been 2 business days. We're prepared to go mobile with our students. I've already gotten notifications as a parent regarding my kids. I've had great communication regarding it from multiple people at the school, and even communication directly to my older child. You've done an outstanding job. But this is not going to be perfect. Even something as complex or seemingly simple as just this lunch situation is going to have bumps in the road. There's going to be some issues that come up as we iron out these kinks, but it's more important to move quickly to try to get food to our children than it is to be perfect. And it's more important to get learning to our students as we can. It's more important to get started on the learning process than it is to be perfect. And I think across the board, I just ask for some tolerance from the community and our parents and our students as we navigate this really difficult situation. And again, thank you.
To that end, just wanted to let you know that board members Schneider and Naomi Schoenfeld are no longer on the meeting. I cannot get a line out on this, so the bridge dropped as I was sitting here not touching the phone, and I can no longer get a line out. So this could be the new world we live in. So I'm hoping it's just a glitch, but it is what it is. We did get their testimony and we did get their vote. And I think right now it's and we still have quorum, which even in a state of emergency we could declare an emergency, but we don't need to. So that's I think what I have. Are there any other questions or comments about tonight's emergency meeting subjects? Seeing none, thank you very much. Thank you. Pulled this together with a lot of short notice. Thank you to Town Hall, the town manager's office, Merrimack TV. I know that we wanted to get you out of here at 4:30. Unfortunately, with this fast turnaround, that wasn't possible. That's what emergency meetings can do, but we'll try to make that the exception, not the rule. But thank you again for making yourselves flexible. And on that note, I will go on to item number 4, which is public participation on agenda items. I will start to see if there's anything on live stream. I did see something, but I haven't been looking because I've been running a meeting. So I'm going to scroll through, and there's been a lot of conversation. And one comment. Andy Hunter, 15 Mountain View Drive. I would like to thank the school board for pressing the issue last night. We are a few days behind on this, and I am glad that we are finally acting. I would also like to thank the administration for developing a plan so quickly. I commend all of your actions over the last few days. Thank you. At this time, I see no other public comment on live stream, and so I will open public comment to the people in the room. Absolutely. So please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Joe Savage, 3 Fairway Drive. How do we activate the community better? I follow Facebook and many other public forums, but I haven't seen anything from the district of what you need from the community. I'm work from home now. My office has been quarantined. I'm happy to come hand out lunches. I'm happy to find a way to insert myself to make the work that the board is doing, that the administration is doing, easier. Many hands make light work. Is there a communication channel I'm missing where there's information on volunteer opportunities or ways to activate the community? There's so much dialogue that happens on social media and forums. I work in web publishing, so I can tell you not to believe everything you read on the internet. It is not true. I put a lot of the content there.
But it's paying your bills. Kidding.
So I can tell you, as a content publisher on the internet, don't believe everything that you read. It's not true. But there are times when we need these social channels and we need these opportunities to activate the community. And the public discourse can very easily shift to the negative. And that's unfortunately situations. I want to personally thank the district and the board for the hard work that you're doing. I've seen emails all weekend long at various hours of the day. And it's clear that everyone is absolutely doing their best. We're human beings, and we're in a very difficult situation that probably none of us ever expect to see in our lifetimes. But if there's a way to share information on volunteer opportunities, ways to engage the community, I know I would like to help, and I just really don't know how to jump in and where those opportunities may be. So just if you could put some of that out there, I think that'd be very beneficial because there are many that are looking to engage that we just don't know how yet.
Thank you. We normally don't respond to public comment, but just because this is such a, I would say, extraordinary circumstance, I think Mark has some thoughts on what goes into that.
So I thank you for your comments. I want to just put them in just a little context. So school was in session on Friday, and this is Tuesday. And so there certainly in the days to come, there will be a lot that will continue to unfold. You have not missed anything in terms of an outreach to volunteers, and partly that's because at the moment we're paying our staff, and we are getting a lot of work from them, even in these very unusual situations. And so at the moment, we are sustaining ourselves quite well. In the coming days, I think that you will hear from sort of site-based schools, communication about coordinating volunteer efforts. That will be forthcoming, and so you've not missed anything, but in the next couple of days, I would look for communication coming primarily from the schools. And I would just beg people's indulgence that not everything can happen exactly at the same time. So that's to come. And I would just want to just say that it's a funny place to be right now in the sense that there are certainly a lot of people looking to the schools to solve a lot of problems relative to the coronavirus. But our job is our students. And there are other entities that have their jobs. And so I would say that I would equally appeal to the community to ask other agencies where they might need help. Because, we are doing our best with the task that we have. And I sometimes think that people forget that, our task is limited to the education of our students, and that's pretty significant. So I would say that I really appreciate your sincere offer of support, and rest assured in the coming days you will see opportunities where that's invited for the purposes of extending our goals as a school district. And I'm sure that there will be other places for those volunteer energies to be placed as well. And I would look for the community to seek those as well.
Thank you. If there's no other public comment, public participation on agenda items, I will close public participation, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Made by Brandy, seconded by Cinda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none. The motion carries 3-0-0 because we lost the other two on the conference bridge. Thank you and good night.